Hello and welcome to our webinar today, Simplify and Modernize Your Finance Technology. This is a presentation created specifically for local government entities who are ready to modernize their accounting software. Today, our presentation will be given by two highly acclaimed experts in technology, Matt Borkowski from Arctic IT and James Faw of Sparkrock 365. Before we begin, we'd like to remind you there are two handouts available for you to download. The first is an ebook that highlights the functionality of Sparkrock's solution for the government sector, and the other is a capability statement of Arctic IT, which highlights our depth of knowledge of implementing ERP solutions for local governments. Also complementing this presentation is a webinar we will be hosting on February 11th on human capital management, and we will place the registration link in the chat window. And please invite your colleagues to join us for this deep dive into this complete HR application. As always, if you have a question, please feel free to submit it via the chat so we can address them at the end of the presentation. And with that, I'll turn the presentation over to Matt.
All right, thank you, Brooke, and thank you all for attending today. I love talking about technology. I've been working in it for a number of years, for over 15 years now in the Microsoft financial system realm, and just really excited about Sparkrock 365 and the awesome things we're seeing for state and local government entities making use of this great technology. So thank you all for joining us today. We'll be giving you a brief introduction into Arctic IT and Sparkrock, and then walking through really why IT modernization in regards to financial systems in particular is such a important topic right now, and one that so many government entities are really stepping into. And we'll give you a good solution overview of the platform and Sparkrock 365 and why it's such a great fit for local governments. And in that, James is going to walk us through and actually showing us, give us a nice sneak peek of Sparkrock 365 and the great functionality that it offers. And we really are focused not only on implementing technology or making sure that you can see the right technology, but technology is one part of the puzzle. We know that having the right partner to help you make best use of that technology and adapt it to your government agency is a big part of that picture. And Arctic IT, along with Microsoft and Sparkrock, really is a strong partnership that would work well for you. We are, as Arctic IT, we are focused on Microsoft technology. From our inception, almost 20 years ago now, we have guided our entire organization to help our customers make the best of Microsoft technology for their organization. And that extends beyond the technology itself into truly looking at the best practices for using that, being compliance minded, not only on the security side, but also financial compliance, policy compliance along those lines, and really taking that security first approach to everything that we do. Because having the best technology that you cannot trust, if you cannot trust it as to remain secure for both your data, your organization, your employees, but also that of your constituents and citizens and their information that you're managing, then that technology is of no value. So we have to have a security first approach to everything that we do. And in that implementations, there are multiple ways of making that successful. A lot of times we look at starting from an agile based, making sure that you can start making use of the modern technology as quickly as possible to get up and running off of these legacy systems and bringing on that functionality step at a time to really deploy that in an easy to learn way and effectively manage that change across your organization. And we just bring a depth of experience. We've been working with local governments and public sector organizations, again, for over 15 years. And again, beyond the base financial application itself, being able to develop extended functionality to meet unique needs, all with a security best practice in mind behind everything that we do. And we've been able to not only handle those more traditional financial system implementations, but also handle unique customer needs and deployments for specific experiences, to the point that Microsoft has frequently referred to Arctic IT as their Swiss Army knife, because they know that each government entity does things a little bit differently, and when there's a unique need, that we are the best partner to help folks meet that with the Microsoft stack. And we are Microsoft Gold partners. What that means is again, what we bring is our industry expertise, being able to have the best consultants and support and IT staff on our and security staff really on our teams, with an extensive understanding not only of the ERP technology but also the unique needs of a government entity, especially at the local level, to be able to take our deep expertise and 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 utilize the technology to fit our customers. And that's really where we're so glad to build on top of that solid foundation for Microsoft, the largest software company in the world that has just such a tremendous versatility and productivity and dependability between their software, and giving us a platform that we'll talk more about on which we can build such specific functionality for our customers. And that's really where Sparkrock has come in, that they are the market experts for developing on the Dynamics platform. They With Sparkrock, there's been such a great history of success at the nonprofit and education and K through 12 level, and that real success at the local government, especially in the education level, has then blossomed into further and further usage in the local governments of Sparkrock 365 with expanded functionality to really meet those needs across a city and state and county government, that really started by building up and learning that expertise with the education folks. So it's been great to see that blossom and starting to really take hold, and has for quite some time, across all of the city and county governments that we've been blessed to work with. And so we've really been focusing on these markets for over a decade, and combined with Arctic IT's industry expertise and Microsoft's foundation that they provide of their software platform, Sparkrock really has become that go-to system for the local governments. And when we take a look at why is the need for evaluating technology and new technology so prevalent for the local government right now, and it really is looking at the pain points experienced with legacy software. So often organizations at the local level have been siloed. Each agency, each program, each department, all kind of with their own system, their own versions of the truth in regards to their budgetary data, their spending, maybe their procurement choices, what things they're utilizing, and the information of the citizens that they're working with and providing services for. But that data is needed really across a lot of those different departments and programs. So you see governments having this duplicate data in so many different places, in different spreadsheets and all these things, and that really makes so much manual process, with paper having to be exchanged, so much happening in emails, and really valuable information from a workflow perspective being lost in a backlog of emails, being lost in paper, being routed around, and just verbal communication, giving you very insufficient tracking, making it very hard to show compliance with policies, or maybe being able to adapt to modern policies because of insufficient technology and processes to support that. And that makes the reporting on all that very difficult. Giving you the ability to be transparent to your constituents with your financial practices is very, very difficult in that circumstance. And then that brings in the security issues, where you have multiple systems that maybe various people need access to. So they have logins in various areas. Those logins and passwords are maybe managed separately, or they're exporting data out into unencrypted areas and storing it at different places just because they need that from different systems without a secure way of accessing it currently. Uh, and with all these headaches and many more, which I'm sure a number of you experience, it really is looking at technology differently. How can you bridge those gaps with modern technology? And a lot of that really takes a look at what have we typically seen with these legacy applications. Typically, they're installed on a server someplace, or they're even installed locally on individuals' workstations. That make it very difficult to securely give encrypted access to that, especially in a situation like today where so many folks are trying to work from home effectively. That just makes you vulnerable to site-related issues, natural disasters, power outages, all that stuff. When if that goes down, if you lose power, or if even your local network is compromised, or if you can't physically be at the office, how are you able to make use of all that? And we talked earlier about that redundancy of data is everywhere and is difficult, but then also the redundancy of your technology itself. What happens if our servers go down? What happens if there is a natural disaster locally? So then there's a lot of very difficult policies and procedures to try to follow to get that data backed up, having to access into the system via VPNs or other things which tend to slow processes down, and again are difficult for IT to manage and do it, and it just increases the costs of support and your risks of data security. So that's where more and more we're seeing organizations, both corporate but especially at the government level, really moving to the cloud. And a lot of that comes to just a new reality of what business continuity means. From a technology perspective, for years, that idea of business continuity was: is our data backed up? Where is that backed up data stored? How can we restore that backed up data, or how relevant and how up to date is that backed up data if there was a loss of our main data source? If our power goes out, or there was a natural disaster, or if we were the victim of a cyber attack, how do we access that? And those are all very important pieces. But we now have a new reality of business continuity in how can we continue to perform our work? How can we handle our processes and continue to meet the demands and needs of our city and county if we are not able to physically, if our offices are closed, if we can't be there? How do we have the flexibility of being able to work where is most safe beyond just the aspects of data backups and recoveries, and being able to truly empower a remote workforce while automatically having the backups and the geo redundancy and the disaster recovery from a technology perspective in the back end? That really is showcasing the need. While almost every government entity that we're talking to that is going to new technology is looking to a cloud-based system to help bridge those technology gaps. But that also involves looking more at just at looking beyond a financial application in itself, but to be able to bridge those technology gaps, to be able to bring in different departments and exercises and programs, and manage those processes which go outside of just finance. You have to look at more than just an application. You really have to look at the entire platform that is providing the functionality of that application. And that's where, when Microsoft looked at all those issues we talked about earlier, the duplicate data, the insufficient tracking, and in all those areas, Microsoft said, look, we need to do more than create good applications. We need to be able to have the platform behind that to really bridge all those gaps. And that platform is Microsoft Dynamics 365. You might hear me use the term D365 or even Dynamics. In essence, that is the Microsoft Dynamics 365 platform. And that truly is the integrated cloud platform for all the business applications that purpose-built business applications that Microsoft provides. So it unifies both the ERP and finance type tracking with the other, maybe business development and retail, point of sale, all these aspects that are kind of encompassed, across local government that you need, that is typically in different platforms, different software all across the government, now can be combined all into one platform on Dynamics 365. So you've got your customer service, your maybe some of your case management, your field service, your work orders, your folks that are going out into the communities to perform service and fix things, and all the tracking that goes behind that at the city level. But then having that true finance, supply chain management, your project accounting, your procurement, human resource, payroll, all those things behind there as well, all on that same platform. Well, then also bringing in your point of sale, your commerce, your retail type cashiering technology that you need. Again, that previously has always been in separate systems that are difficult to combine and reconcile, now all into one platform under the different applications that are part of Dynamics 365. And that has behind it what they call the common data model for Microsoft. There's been different terms for that over the years. And that really means that if you've got a customer or a citizen that is involved in your services and is part of what you're tracking, that record can be shared and available across all the applications for folks that are authorized to see that. so addresses can stay up to date, so that those financial records are, it's much easier to be able to provide that, get a one truth picture of what's happening across the organization when you're dealing with one supplier, one customer, the same business, the same permit, all those things that you have to manage, the same project, right, that you might need in multiple areas for both managing the resources and planning side of that project, but then also executing and capturing the costs and the revenues associated with that, all in one platform using the best in class cloud security provided by Microsoft. But then we know that no matter how strong an application is, there's always going to be unique needs that is not completely available out of the box. And that's where having the platform behind Dynamics 365, Microsoft's Power Platform, allows us to do so much more than just that. Power BI as the dashboarding, the data analytics tool behind all of Dynamics 365, your world-class dashboarding, reporting, data analytics tool that's completely embedded right inside the system, ready to go to help you make best use of the data that is behind your applications. And then being able to connect workflows beyond just a simple application. We're all kind of used to being able to have workflow inside of our financial system, where we expect that. But what if you could connect multiple systems, both with the platform and outside of it, to be able to have workflows that start right from an email and then go into the financial system, but maybe the bridge into utility billing or other systems, and bring all that back so you can have controlled workflows to remove so many of those paper-based processes or those email-based processes, all within the Power Automate, which allows you to extend and create workflows all throughout your organization, on dealing with and integrating data and interfacing with more than just a single application. And then Power Apps is the ability to create easily extended functionality that integrates right into Dynamics 365 and gives you powerful workflow capabilities behind that, without having to be a programmer. You're not having to write new code to add additional functionality. You can create that inside a Power App, or Arctic IT can create that inside a Power App that extends your functionality to meet unique needs, available both for users of Dynamics 365, or maybe users that don't do anything else with the financial system, but maybe they just need to submit a request, a simple budget request that gets routed through and approved and does your transfers and all that stuff for you. You can build that in a Power App to easily extend that functionality without having to be any sort of developer and programmer behind the scenes. And that is all on that one platform for security and governance. You're no longer having to manage multiple logins for all your different applications, right? That is all part of that Azure cloud platform, which is the Azure cloud is the power behind Microsoft's cloud services. So, security first, as we've talked about, certified and tested, meeting all government compliance related issues behind that. Unlimited storage and computing, making sure that as your needs grow, if you need to store more data or you need less, all that, you're only paying for what you need with a cloud service. You're not having to deploy your own data centers and then maybe only using a quarter of that, and have all that capital investment that isn't really being able to take advantage of into more of an operational monthly cost that allows you to use and pay for only what you need. And then being able to integrate not only with the other Microsoft applications that we've talked about, but also being able to integrate uh, with other systems that you currently have in place. Maybe you have a separate HR and payroll tool that you like, we can connect with that. Maybe you have other contract management tools that have been in place, or sourcing and procurement tools, different revenue generating. Tax is a very common one that we see that is maybe done separately, although you can do that in Dynamics 365 as well. But being able to integrate those and pull that data to reduce those manual processes. And then the collaboration across with Dynamics 365 being completely tied into the Microsoft stack for Office 365 and email and everything. So you can even use the system, access your data right from inside of Outlook, or right from inside of Word and Excel, because it's your same login. It knows the data that you're authorized to see and use, and the processes you're authorized to perform inside the system while you're in Outlook, while you're in email, while you're in Excel, without having to even leave those applications. And that really is where we'll get into more of the specific, exactly why Sparkrock 365 specifically can help simplify your local government accounting, and really moving from that traditional ERP to the best of breed cloud solution. And while we've talked about the Dynamics platform a few times, it's important to know that Microsoft produces a lot of the core financial system technology needed on which we can build. And that core technology, you might hear us call it BC every once in a while, Business Central, is one of the ERP applications that Microsoft develops and deploys as part of Dynamics 365. And it has some of the greatest easy to use tools available. It's got some history based in Dynamics NAV, if you've heard of that in the past, and it really optimizes your financial, your distribution, inventory, and analytics. But there's a lot of functionality that is needed to truly successfully manage a local government that Business Central does not have available at its core. But because of the power of the platform, the ability to create and do more, that's where Sparkrock 365. Sparkrock team has taken a look at really what is missing from this great platform of Dynamics Business Central, and then to build on top of that the fund accounting and procurement functionality, bringing in HR and payroll modules that are available right inside the application that aren't available with Business Central, and so many other just purpose-built public sector functionality built into Sparkrock 365 to enhance what is available with Business Central out of the box. So with that, I'm excited to introduce you to James Faw from Sparkrock themselves, who was one of the founders behind truly building Sparkrock 365. So James, we're very excited to have you along with us today to be able to really highlight what Sparkrock 365 brings to our local governments.
Oh, fantastic, and thank you very much for the introduction, Matt, and thank you very much, everybody. Looking forward to speaking about our solution. And so we thought about how do we highlight this application and the differences it can make in terms of simplifying your accounting for local government organizations or nonprofit or education organizations. And we really thought that presenting it within a couple of key themes that we see that really drive the difference that a truly integrated solution can make in the lives of our customers who are in the local government space. And so I want to sort of look at the solution with you through the lens of these three different themes. And so I want to first start by introducing the themes. The first one is empowering efficiency in your organization. And so there's many different aspects of that. We'll kind of dive into that, getting up to speed quickly, having your team be very effective at working with the solution, access anywhere, those kinds of things. And then the second theme is really a theme of accountability and budget management. So all of our customers in this sector really are required to show that they're managing budgets appropriately, right? That they're staying on top of budgets, not going over budget, and they're managing to plan. And so providing you with insight into the tools that help you do that and help your team be the most effective at that. And then the third theme is really on compliance for grant or project tracking and reporting, and really how is it that organizations can manage compliance within their organizations, track all the grants they're receiving, multiple funding sources, what needs to happen in terms of that reporting, and then also provide a visibility into how projects are progressing and staying on track. So kind of those three themes with again, empowering efficiency, accountability, and compliance as the third theme are the ones that I'd like to spend some time exploring with you today. So diving into those and starting in with the first theme of empowering efficiencies. Matt alluded to this already, but one of the things that we have seen over and over drive tremendous efficiencies is really having a truly integrated platform. And many of our customers don't start out using all of this capability right away. And in some cases, perhaps HR payroll is not something that's right for your organization ever. Maybe you're happy with whatever other solutions you have, but our solution does provide you with a platform that you can grow into. So you can start with finance and procurement, for example. And I wanted to speak a little bit to the value of the integration. So consider, for example, if you've got a new project or a grant, and you're tracking it from a pre-award status. So you're planning this, through your budgeting cycles. It's maybe multiple, it's a 3-year project. You're planning it ahead of when it becomes effective, or maybe you're not even sure if you're going to be awarded that grant yet. And so you're setting up that project in the solution and tracking it. Once it becomes activated as a project or awarded as a grant, then our solution will automatically create the segment or the dimension value in the general ledger that allows you to start tagging transactions. Because it's fully integrated, you simply change the status and then automatically it becomes available here. Once it becomes available here, we can immediately set up workflow against it for budget checking and point that workflow perhaps at either a specific individual who's approving it, or even at a position if there's a specific position within your HR that is responsible. And so if there's changeover in your staff, then your financial workflows automatically get updated with the incumbents in that position, right? And maybe this particular grant or project, there's a lot of expenses coming in through expense claims. So it's immediately available for employees that have the appropriate security to start coding expenses against it. Or maybe you're procuring items and services or project worked against that. So again, it ties into requisition management, which ties into commitments and encumbrances, flows into accounts payable, and again, back into the general ledger. So there's that full visibility across the platform. Again, if you were looking at HR and payroll, then of course we can start entering timesheets against it, or scheduling shifts, or hiring positions against that particular grant or project, and that all flows through into payroll and then back into the general ledger as well. So there's that deep integration across our solution, and even the footprint of the solution is quite broad. And in many cases, over time, we're replacing anywhere between 5 and 10 different solutions that you may have, including often many spreadsheets that you're using to track a lot of these things. And so again, we can help organizations really centralize and formalize their practices in a true digital transformation that will empower efficiency within your organization. So that's the first theme in terms of empowerment that I wanted to talk about, which is sort of this integration where all the pieces of the related pieces of the puzzle are really talking to each other. And then I wanted to talk about the empowering efficiency within the platform. So and so I'm going to switch over into the solution right away so that you can start to see the solution. One of the things that we're doing in the solution is we're leveraging this amazing Microsoft platform that Matt mentioned, right? It's a Dynamics 365 Business Central platform. In our experience with this platform, or frankly any other accounting solution that has sort of come from the for-profit world, so to speak, is that they have an inherent imbalance in the required features for our local government customer base. And that's where a lot of the complexity and the sophistication is on sort of the inventory, the widgets, the buying and selling widgets, the sales opportunities and tracking, and then sales orders and shipping of those widgets, those sorts of things. And that may be applicable to some of our customers, but what our customers typically need is really the equivalent sophistication to all of that on the expense side. So managing to budget, managing to staffing costs and things like that, and having all of those pieces speak together, having a proper procurement requisition through payment process. So we'll come back and talk about that a little more in the accountability theme, but I want to focus on leveraging this platform plus the features and functions added by Sparkrock to really right size, turn the application right side up for our public sector customers, and really about efficiencies. So a lot of those efficiencies are really tied into the platform. So first of all, Microsoft provides us with this great dashboard interface for the solution. And this is a true cloud and SaaS solution. So as Matt mentioned, it's hosted by Microsoft, performance managed by Microsoft. It's in the Azure cloud, which is the most secure cloud for business applications available today, and really the place where you want to have your most important data, arguably most important data in your organization stored, right? So those deployments are geo-redundant. So again, you have the efficiencies of taking the burden off your IT team away from sort of managing servers, patching hardware, making sure that the backups are running and they're, being stored or uploaded to the cloud from on-premise software. So again, we're wiping away all of those kinds of inefficiencies and challenges, and in many cases, risks to the organization by having those those managed, by your local IT department, and having those managed by the Microsoft platform itself. And then some of the other efficiencies really are around the usability of the application. So this is a role center, and this happens to be an accounting manager role center. And part of modern application design is to really design the application so that a user who logs into the solution can get a glimpse into the health of their organization at a glance. So right away, I can see how many overdue purchase documents I have. So I can see there are 15 here, and perhaps I can drill down on those 15 to see the specific documents, all of the invoices, the names of the vendors on those invoices, the dates, and I can see anything that's overdue is in red. So it's highlighting those, and I can see that at a glance. It's showing me, as a finance user, the cash account balance. So this is the total and the different cash accounts that I'm using here. So again, I can take a look and it's giving me a perspective on cash, and I can drill down to see those accounts. We also have integration with an OCR data service. So OCR meaning optical character recognition. And that's a service where you can forward your electronic invoices, or you can use a scan to email feature that most copiers have today. And you can send invoices that you get from vendors to this service, and it's going to use this OCR technology to read those invoices and partially or completely enter that invoice for you in your ERP system. And that really helps your accounts payable department make this shift away from a more clerical, just pounding in transactions every day, to a more analytical way of operating, right? Managing cash, managing your critical vendors, making sure that they're satisfied, making sure that compliance to organizational policies are really in place in terms of the accounts payable. And so again, that's what incoming documents are. So we can see all of those. There's other status here for payments and discounts, ones that will become available to me, any document approvals, unprocessed payments, even approvals down here, requisitions that I need to approve, and even pending user tasks. So you can schedule your month-end process or any other business activities to specific teams or individuals and have those tasks show up in inboxes for those individuals. So there's this sort of practical side of the role center that's showing me, here's some things that I might want to be aware of, and you notice some are in yellow, some are in green, and some are neutral here. Those are all settings that we configure in the solution for you. It's very easy to just, or an administrative user in your organization can configure what is red, yellow, and green, or neutral here. And then if as we keep going down further, we can see some other things in terms of efficiency. So my favorite accounts. So instead of cycling through the entire chart of accounts, if I want to highlight, in this case, program-related accounts that I want to monitor, I can cherry pick just by using this manage list here, the accounts that I want to monitor here. And the same thing with vendors. If I want to select and cherry pick the key vendors to my organization, I can pick which one those are, and I can sort of monitor the expenses here. Again, sort of to the theme of efficiency and helping a user see, sort of having insight into the health of the business. I have a cash cycle chart here, and each user can personalize this by selecting a chart from a lengthy list of available charts here. Which ones do I want to see here? So I can select which chart I want. I have a cash flow forecasting chart, which is tied to a cash flow forecasting module as well. And I can come down here and access even dashboards here that are specifically created in Power BI and have visibility into those. So that's another aspect. We're going to come back to Power BI and the value of those charts and graphs and visualization in our third theme, but I wanted to point out it is related to the efficiencies theme as well. So again, having this layout that allows users to see, see the health of your organization at a glance is very helpful. Something else is really helping. Sort of modern application design is really moving away from sort of traditional running reports to have insight into what's going on in your business, and moving into more alerts, notices, warnings, or dashboards and things like that. So an application that relies heavily on reports to and users to look at long lists of information to look for anomalies is really fundamentally less efficient for your users. And in fact, what we know about brain science today is that how long it's been since your last coffee or how long it is till lunchtime is going to affect your ability to look through those things. So I wanted to, again, also on the efficiency and the connectedness of the application, I'm going to go into my chart of accounts quickly just to give you a sense of how easy it is to find information in the application. So I'm going to search here, and in this case, I'm going to zero in on program-related accounts. I can easily search on a partial text value here, so it's giving me, some information on program-related accounts, and it's presenting me with actual to budget information right at my fingertips. So right by looking at this, I can see an organizational roll-up of all my program expenses, and I can see overall what the budget, commitments, encumbrances, and net changes are, and I can drill down into those. So if I want to find out what's going on with this 112,000, I can drill into those transactions, and I can see exactly what's going on, all of the details. If this is too much detail, I want to filter further into this. I can zero in on specific things. Maybe I want to zero in on maybe a sort of a department code. I'm going to focus only on my admin department, and I'm going to do a spot check on some data there. And maybe I want to apply an amount filter for materiality. So I'm only going to look at transactions that are greater than $4,000. So again, I can apply those filters and get to a data set that, that's something that I can zero into exactly what I'm looking for. I can sort on the amount column. In this case, I'm going to sort descending. So I've got my largest expense on the top. And even right from here, I can go to a find entries feature, and it actually allows me to find all related entries to this particular entry. This happened to be accounts payable document, and it applies my user security. So I've got a cost allocation here on it, detailed vendor ledger entries, posted purchase invoice. I can show any one of those, including opening up and showing this particular invoice. This happens to be to a vendor called Nelson Education. I've got the full breakdown here, and I can actually see a copy of the image that's been scanned using that OCR service, or the ability to attach an invoice, and I can call up that invoice directly from here. So again, hopefully you're seeing that this can really help individuals within your organization really follow the thread that the story that the data tells them, and sort of drill into the data and gain deeper understanding as they're doing that. So another aspect of efficiency is really the integration to the Microsoft platform. So I can use this open in Excel. So as I'm working on the data here, I can easily pass all of this data over to Excel. And so that's another topic on the efficiencies that I wanted to highlight, is this Microsoft platform really provides us with some really tremendous ability to blur the lines between when I'm working with my financial ERP application and when I'm working with Microsoft Office applications. So in this case, I pulled all of that data on that screen. It brings it over with the same columns that I have shown on my screen over. And there's also additional filters here. So if I wanted to zero in on something else, maybe a specific entity code, maybe I want to look only at entity 01 here, I can filter that data further here that I'm in Excel. And this Microsoft platform offers you features like this, where you can push, it's a property of the system, so any page in the system you can push out to Excel. We offer an edit to Excel feature, and that's available anywhere where you can edit data on Excel. I can also push it out and edit that data, anywhere I can edit data on screen, I can also edit it in Excel. It doesn't circumvent business logic or change tracking or any approval processes that I have in place. Even if I submit them in through the edit in Excel feature, it's going to trigger all of those workflows or functions that are happening in the system. So again, wanted to kind of point out some of those efficiencies in the platform as well. And then another efficiency that I wanted to point out that's linked to this integration in the platform is how there's some aspects of the application that can be deployed inside other Microsoft applications. So this is my Microsoft Outlook for my demo account here. And I've got an email that I received from an email address that's associated with a vendor. And it's associated with a vendor that's linked to First Up, a contact that's linked to a vendor called First Up Consultants Limited. And you can see that there's a like a wizard type function that you can run in the ERP solution. And when you run it, it installs this Sparkrock 365 add-in here that allows you to view information from within your Outlook that's related to data inside your ERP solution. So notice as I click on some other emails here, this email address is not linked to a contact, but this one is, and therefore it just takes a moment and it pulls up the information about this particular vendor. And this is live data about this particular vendor. So I can look at the vendor statistics, look at the balance, scroll through here and look at the number of orders, the number of posted invoices. I can add a new note, a new link or a new note here. And again, this will update the vendor record inside Sparkrock 365. This is also interactable data. So I can drill down on this balance and I can see I've got 3 overdue invoices and 1 that's not due yet. Or if I'm communicating with this vendor for some sort of a procurement purpose, I can even create documents like a purchase invoice or purchase order directly from inside my Outlook. So this functionality is available today for both customer and vendor type records within the solution, and we're looking for additional scenarios to extend it out to things like employees as well. But again, on the theme of helping empowering employees to become more efficient, that's a very significant one. And I'll just mention as I transition back to the next theme is that the empowering efficiency applies to the integration with the Microsoft Office platform. We talked about Excel and Outlook already. It's also available for Microsoft Word. So all external facing documents like a sales invoice or a purchase order or even an ACH statement that goes out to a vendor, you can modify those templates in Microsoft Word. So gone are the days of requiring a developer with some sort of skill to use a complex report writer to do that. So hopefully you're seeing that this solution allows you to work anywhere, anytime, on any device. We didn't focus on that too much. So I'll just take a quick moment to show you another role center like the Human Resources Manager role center. I know that's not the topic for today, but just quickly showing how I can actually go into design mode and I can modify my preferences, remove whatever it is that I want to remove these boxes, move them around, optimize the screen based on my preferences. And I can also do that in tablet mode. So I can see what the application looks like in tablet mode. So what does, in this case, the employee list or my chart of accounts look like, or even in mobile mode. So this is the final efficiency theme item where really we're allowing your employees to work anywhere, anytime, on any device. And frankly, our experience is that in some cases, employees are working on more than one device at one time, right? It's the sort of the modern way where I may be working on a specific transaction. If I'm in the purchasing department, I'd be working on contracts or purchase orders inside my desktop app. But I can use my mobile app to approve that transaction that's coming in, from one of my staff members. So again, working anywhere, anytime on any device, understanding what matters at a glance, drilling down into details, starting with the role center that's related to you, and really, spilling over into the Microsoft ecosystem in a very seamless way. So I want to move into our second theme, which is really around accountability and budget. That comes into play in many different ways. So we like to talk about in our solution sort of 2 ways that, over time, we've really understood that in organizations, and especially for our customers in the local government public sector domain, the budget management budget management process is really done in a very distributed way, right? In many cases, there's lots of different budget owners within the organization, and I may be responsible for just this one department, or maybe these 2 projects, or maybe this single grant, or maybe these 20 different grants, right? And so we need to empower those users to have deep visibility into what's going on, but do it in a way that's responsible and efficient. So I've logged in here as a different role center. This is the department manager role center, and everything that you see here is really filtered for me as a user. So I can go in here and I can look at purchase orders, and it's filtering all the purchase orders that are listed here to only purchase orders that are tied to my department or cost center or 3 projects or whatever it is that my security is linked to. So again, I can see all of these POs, and if I drill into the details, and there is some lines related to my department and some related to somebody else's, I will only see the lines that I have access to, only the lines that that I'm allowed to see. So it actually does line-based security and allows me to see that sort of in the purchase order. Same thing with purchase invoices, posted purchase documents. And again, in our experience, we've seen over time that in many cases, budget managers within the organization will fall into one of two camps. There are the budget managers within our customers' organizations that are sort of highly proactive and probably would tend to be on the micromanager side. And those budget managers want to see everything, and they're proactive, and they want to go in and they can look at the data and sort of monitor what's going on a daily basis. And if you don't have live data that's giving them actual to budget information on a regular basis, that can be a very frustrating experience for both your finance department as well as for those budget managers. And so with financial analysis, we can provide, your finance department can set up some very simple views. This one is by GL account. I can have it by department or cost center or any one of my segments, my dimensions. And even if it's a multi-year grant, you can default in the grant starting and ending date to the filters here. So those users can log in and they can see a 3-year grant where it stands in terms of all of these details. And instead of being static like a report that gets emailed to them, we can allow users to drill down on these transactions. So I can drill down specifically on any one of these columns in the same way that a finance user could to be able to see the details that make up that particular transaction. So and see the right down to the source documents. So instead of being a static report that I look at, and if I have questions, then I have to send an email back to finance, and we go through those inefficiencies in order to reconcile that, then we're providing those users with something live that they can access right away. So the other type of budget manager that we come across is really more on the side of users who are either they're too busy or the nature of their work makes it difficult for them to stay on top of those budget reports, especially if they're running programs or dealing with the public or something like that, where they're not in front of their computer all the time. Sometimes we need to help them intercept when there's an over budget condition happening. And that happens out of the box with this sort of reactive budget management tools that we offer. And so one example of that is in purchase requisition. So I'm going to quickly enter a purchase requisition here. It's a standard type of requisition, and I'm going to go down to an expense line. And maybe I'm entering its professional services agreement that I'd like to enter here. I can actually start entering that, identify that it's maybe $2,000 for this particular agreement. I'm going to select kind of where I'm charging it, what account code it goes to. I can apply those, and again, I can enter multiple lines. They can go to different projects, different budgets. Those drop downs in terms of the account sets are all filtered based on my security. So first of all, we're not confusing the end user with more information than they need. And on top of that, I can actually simply run a verify, or maybe even if I'm not paying attention, I can just send for approval, and the system will check it and it will say, hey, this is going to cause an over budget condition. Do you want to continue anyway? And we can even have over budget business rules, or we can stop it and not allow it to happen. We can identify what happens. And for this reactive budget management, what's really powerful here is that in most traditional systems, you might get an over budget warning, but what happens is the user has to then stop. They have to turn over to some reporting tool or inquiry tool. They have to try to look up exactly what it is that's on the transaction that they're using, try to balance those things, determine where it is, and see what it is. And so right here, you can see that we're telling the user that you're already $10,000 in the hole, you had no budget to begin with, here's all the other data in terms of budget to actual. And we're showing it to them right at their fingertips, even if they don't take the time to look up the report proactively. We're reactively helping them stay on top of their budget. So again, I wanted to point out that, and again, we have complex workflows I know I'm approaching the end of our time, so I want to touch quickly on our final topic, which is really compliant with grant and project tracking and reporting. And in our solution, how we can really offer not only the setup and the maintenance of those grants and projects in the system, including any tasks and deliverables that organizations have, where I can monitor this project list. I can see all of the projects that I have at any given time, and I can monitor specific tasks and deliverables that need to be completed. The other thing that we can do is provide users with specific dashboards. So in this case, I've got a specific dashboard here that's highlighting all kinds of things. Maybe I want to look at all my projects on a map. Maybe the nature of my projects are such that I can identify sort of where they all are on a map. Or maybe I'd like to look at them from a funder or a program perspective, and I can see different types of programs that are here with this integration with a Microsoft platform called Power BI that Matt mentioned. Again, this can be live or it can be data that's refreshed on a frequent basis. Or I can maybe look at project timelines where I'm looking at where all these different projects are and looking at sort of where they're impacting across the organization. Or maybe look at individual projects with breakdowns by geographic region or timelines when they're happening, total expenditures by different categories, or budget versus revenue, expenditures that might be happening, or even, employees that are associated with different projects. So again, this is just an example of the types of visualizations that we can make. These visualizations are also within that Microsoft ecosystem. And so it's very easy for users to share this dashboard. So if you have a CEO or executive director or someone senior in the organization that wants to get this, a finance user can create the dashboard very easily, simply share it with whoever it is that they need to do. Or again, we can paste it in Teams to identify, send it in a chat in Teams, those sorts of things. So it's very, very easy to share these dashboards and create them, modify them, different variations out there, and have your organization have that insight into it. So I just want to go back and quickly summarize some of the unique considerations for local government organizations. Really, Sparkrock 365 is, hopefully you can see, it's been specifically developed for public sector local government organizations. Again, the solution is cloud native from the ground up. We're offering that Microsoft web-based technology that really helps empower your organization to modernize, get to the cloud, and digitally transform in a way that helps you become more efficient. We have strong workflow functionality to automate manual processes and make sure that we're moving compliance functionality, accountability in your organization away from a manual enforcement or a human enforcement of those policies to a system enforcement that's going to allow you to track, date, and timestamp and make your auditors happy. And then experience in delivering quality product that meets your implementation goals. So again, those are some of the unique considerations. And it's just some final takeaways before I hand it back over to you, Matt, is consider what you need to do in terms of future-proofing your organization, and a solution that's tailor-made, but also leveraging that amazing Microsoft platform we really feel is ideal to help you modernize quickly now. Again, if any of you are on other Microsoft products like a GP, this solution is the ideal transition into a true cloud and SaaS solution. And then you can rely on Arctic IT as a trusted ERP technology partner, with having done many implementations and gotten customers successfully live. And Sparkrock 365 really is the right choice for local government organizations. So Matt, I'm going to hand it back over to you.
All right, thank you, James. Great job. Thank you for running us through the sneak peek and seeing actually how Sparkrock 365 and some of the great functionality there that is in use by local agencies across the country. So as we round out today, we've obviously told you about how agencies and local governments are starting to make use of this. And even right now, we're just in the process of wrapping up Transportation Authority in California, and that truly they needed a major ERP system overhaul. But it was something that they needed to be able to implement rapidly, to be able to move to the cloud, take advantage of a lot of the great functionality that we saw today. But they still had complex fund accounting, grant management requirements to be able to manage the finance, procurement, projects, assets, and inventory, things behind the scenes. And now all of this this transition in a short amount of time, just a matter of months, being able to get on Sparkrock 365, to be able to handle that capital project management, the dimensional general ledger structure to give the flexibility in capturing what you need at the transaction level, to give you the complex and flexible reporting that comes along with that, and being able to unify those processes and get off of so much paper-based manual processes behind there, and just standardizing across the organization. And then truly being able to rest secure in that business continuity, regardless of the pandemic environment, as well as the technological concerns behind the scenes with cybersecurity attacks, natural disasters, and those things that are already at risk, especially for these folks that are right on the West Coast. And again, part two of this digital transformation for local governments will be focusing on the HCM, the HR and payroll technology that is available as part of Sparkrock. So please join us here on February 11th as well to dive into that. And so we thank you for your time today. We've got just a few minutes here until the top of the hour, and I'd like to open the floor for questions. And Brooke, have you seen any come in that we'd like to address at this time?
Yes, thank you, Matt and James, for presenting today. That was very helpful. So I do see one question. What is the timeline to migrate from an on-premise software to Sparkrock?
That's a great question. And as you would expect, my initial response would say it depends, and really it does depend on the rollout of not only the amount of data you want to migrate from your legacy solution, but also the functionality that you need. That to be said, to be able to roll out the core functionality, get your finances moved over, and start there, we're usually talking about a 3-month timeline. It could be more or maybe a little bit less if needed aggressively. But then after that initial 3-month timeline, we'd be looking at rolling out some of those other core processes. Maybe things like your fixed assets inventory could wait another month or two. Your capital project management, and your budget planning and those things coming in to come live during your budget season. Those are things that we'd work through, but I'd say anywhere from 3 to 9 months, depending upon all the functionality you're looking to bring on. And usually it's dependent more upon the availability and appetite for the customer's team, and because they all have their normal day jobs and everything as well that they've continued to do in their old system. So the amount of time they can devote to the training and testing and all those aspects is a key component of that. But that 3 to 9 month is a pretty good timeline depending upon the functionality coming online.
Thank you, Matt. I don't see any more questions at this time, and we're almost at the end of the hour. So if you have other questions, please let us know.
All right. Well, again, thank you all for joining Brooke, James, and myself today. It truly was a pleasure to introduce and talk through just this latest Microsoft technology, and how that is really helping our customers migrate and get on to just a better platform and technology for the future. So thanks again for joining us today, and we hope that many of you will join us again here on the 11th for the HR and payroll functionality presentation.
Thanks so much, everybody.